Well, good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 2021 Oxnard Save the City Address with Mayor John Zaragoza. I'm Nancy Lindholm, President and CEO of the Oxnard Chamber of Commerce, which is turning into the West Ventura County Business Alliance. We're pleased to present this address to the business community today, as we have every year. It's in an effort to keep our job creators informed about the successes and challenges the city of Oxnard faces. And in turn, we appreciate local government listening to our collective voices when business faces challenges starting up, maintaining a workforce, or expanding to bring more opportunities for our residents. Today, both government and business communities face great challenges as we emerge from the COVID pandemic. Certainly, Mayor Zaragoza has plenty of topics to cover in this interesting time we are living in. But before he gets started, I would like to acknowledge and thank our sponsors of today's event. We certainly thank them for their support. First of all, we have two title sponsors today, Procter & Gamble and Southern California Edison. And joining us from Edison, we have Danny Anderson to say a few words.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction, Nancy. I'm with Southern California Edison, and we're so excited to be a title sponsor of today's Oxnard State of the City event. Edison's service territory of 50,000 square miles, which includes 180 cities and 15 counties and 15 million residents. And as part of our wildfire mitigation plan with the California Public Utilities Commission, we're on track to make a more than $5 billion investment to a more resilient infrastructure, which will directly benefit all of our communities. Additionally, every year we spend $4 billion on suppliers, and nearly half of those are with small and diverse businesses. We also contribute $20 million to from our shareholder dollars to our nonprofit partners who work tirelessly to help improve the quality of life in our communities. We're very lucky to be part of our communities. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to briefly speak about Edison's work and vision, and I'm so happy to be able to be a representative from Edison for the city of Oxnard. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Thanks for joining us today, and thank you for your sponsorship. Our major sponsors today, American Medical Response, Gold Coast Ambulance, New Indy Oxnard LLC, the Port of Hueneme, and Ventura County Credit Union. Our supporting sponsors, AGQ Labs, AMS Craig LLC, The Collection at River Park, Dignity Health, St. John's Hospital, Regency Palm Senior Living, and UCLA Health. Again, we greatly appreciate the support of these businesses and organizations. So before I introduce our speaker, I wanted to explain the format for today's event. We will receive Mayor Zaragoza's presentation first, and then time permitting, of course, we will go into Q&A. You can post inquiries in the question feature at any time during the presentation. And after a year of being on these webinars, I'm sure that you already know, that feature is the conversation bubble with a question mark in the center of it on your screen. So now it is my pleasure and honor to introduce today's keynote speaker, Mayor John C. Zaragoza. John Zaragoza was elected to a 4-year term as mayor of the city of Oxnard on November 3rd, 2020. Prior to that, in 2008, Ventura County voters elected John to represent them on the Board of Supervisors for the 5th District. And the voters re-elected him twice in 2012 and 2016. As county supervisor, John was instrumental in forming partnerships and collaborating with other agencies and the private sector to bring projects to fruition. One example was the Nyland Acres Center, which created to provide an outlet for after-school and family services. John was also instrumental in raising funds to keep the McGrath State Beach from closing. Prior to his service on the Board of Supervisors, John served 12 years on the Oxnard City Council from 1996 to 2008. He served 4 of those 12 years as Mayor Pro Tem. In 2011, John was inducted into Oxnard High School's Hall of Fame for his public service. John grew up and attended local schools in Oxnard. He received his bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of La Verne. It's now my pleasure to turn it over to our mayor, John Zaragoza.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining me for the 2021 State of the City Address. Thank you, Nancy and the Chamber of Commerce, for the opportunity to make this presentation today. However, before I continue, I would like to congratulate the partnership between the Oxnard and Cambrio Chambers of Commerce. So, okay, hold on then. Again, I want to thank all the sponsors for their support of this presentation today. But let me continue by thanking again our City Council for the hard work and our staff here in the City of Oxnard. Additionally, let me share with you that we have a good City Council, a good management team, and that is a good combination for success for both in Oxnard. My presentation today, and I'm going to highlight, will be covering and include 1, COVID-19 and its impacts on the community, as well as how Oxnard employees and the county rose to the occasion of addressing the pandemic. Number 2, information on Measure E. Oxnard voters approved a local 1.5-cent sales tax. 3, an overview of the City Council's 2021-25 5-year priorities. And 4, updates on the Amazon Fulfillment Center and also the Sac-Yoka Farms Business Park development and other major updates. A year of COVID-19 and its impact on Oxnard. Oxnard, like the rest of the world, was severely impacted by the pandemic. Locally, we saw unemployment reach as high as 14% in Oxnard, and has come down slowly to 7.4% in our city. Currently, the unemployment rate in Ventura County is 6.2%, that's as of 2021. Oxnard, being the largest and most densely populated city in Ventura County, experienced the greatest number of COVID cases. To date, more than 32,000 residents have tested positive for COVID in Oxnard. We also experienced a great loss, and we honor the memory of approximately 1,025 souls here in Ventura County that lost their lives to the pandemic since March 2020. However, there's a slight bright light at the end of this tunnel. Today, approximately 67.1% of Ventura County residents aged 12 and above have received the first dose of COVID vaccine. Additionally, the federal government also delivered much needed economic support to our local government. The City of Oxnard is expected to receive $59.5 million in one-time funding through the American Rescue Plan, which provides funding for 1, to support public health responses, 2, replace public sector revenue losses, 3, invest in water and sewer infrastructure, 4, addressing negative economic impacts, 5, providing minimum pay for essential workers, and 6, investing in broadband infrastructure for the unserved and underserved communities. The Biden administration, as you all know, has opposed a sweeping investment in public infrastructure through the American Job Plan, which focuses on fixing highways, rebuilding bridges, upgrading ports, airports, and transit systems, as well as delivering clean drinking water and a renewed grid. And also by providing high-speed broadband to all Americans. They are currently in discussion and surrounded by potential $1 to $2 trillion by Congress. We look forward to receiving more details as the plan moves forward in the legislative process. Overall, the economic aid and investment provided by the federal government will help Oxnard build back a stronger economic base after a year of hardships that we endured during the pandemic. A year of COVID-19, how we serve the community here in Oxnard. In the face of the global pandemic, the city continued, ladies and gentlemen, to offer essential services to Oxnard residents and businesses. Through the entire pandemic, 1, trash was picked up every day. 2, water was delivered. 3, wastewater was processed. And 4, public safety services continued uninterrupted, and homeless services continued. Thanks to the dedicated work of city employees, many city employees took on new responsibilities during the COVID. The recreation and library staff members pivoted in their daily job responsibilities and assisted in weekly food share distribution, serving more than 362,000 individuals throughout the pandemic. Our Oxnard Fire Department and recreation staff also supported COVID-19 responses by providing antibody testing, staffing pop-up COVID-19 testing sites, and vaccine support throughout Oxnard. Additionally, our Oxnard Senior Services served over 66,000 meals to Oxnard seniors throughout the pandemic. The Ventura County Area on Aging also delivered 4.5 million meals to seniors through March 2020. As mayor, ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely proud of our city employees and their dedication to serve the Oxnard community throughout a challenging year, as well as we continue to support and receive support from the County of Ventura. Where are we today? Measure E was approved by Oxnard voters in November 2020 to help support our community through the recovery from the global pandemic and restore Oxnard's fiscal sustainability. I want to thank the residents for approving Measure E. This is a necessary step towards restoring services and programs that the community wants and deserves. Funding for Measure E, which is expected to bring in about $51.9 million a year in revenue for the city general fund in fiscal year 2021, will support services such as 1, maintaining 911 emergency responses, protecting public safety, 3, addressing homelessness, 4, keeping our public areas safe and clean, and 5, aiding Oxnard long-term financial stability. Measure E, our funds are vital for achieving City Council priorities, which were determined through input from our community. In February of this year, more than 2,000 community members participated in what we call the Joint Priorities Conversation Survey to assist the City Council in determining its 2021-25 5-year priorities. The proposed Measure E spending categories that were also presented to voters last fall were also included in the priority survey. So, ladies and gentlemen, on March the 16th, the City Council adopted 25 priorities covering 5 categories. Let me name those right now. Number 1, quality of life. Number 2, economic development. 3, public safety. 4, infrastructure and natural resources. And 5, organizational effectiveness. These priorities will guide the City Council in restoring and improving and adding programs and services for the Oxnard community. Our city manager has proposed a budget based on these priorities, which the City Council reviewed and passed last Tuesday. And the community also previewed on May 26th through the Inter-Neighborhood Council organization during a question and answer with staff. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, a recording of this meeting is also available on the city website. Again, this is the city's first positive budget in a decade. Let me share with you again, this is the first positive budget in a decade, which we're really proud of. Thanks to the voters of Measure E, we no longer have to present the community with options on what services we're going to cut. Today, we present options on how to restore important programs and services for our community. I also want to emphasize that this year's budget is a 3-year restorative budget. In 2021 budgets, we'll focus on restoring services such as 1, paving our streets, 2, landscape and maintenance of parks and trees and mediums, 3, restoring our programs for youth and seniors that were cut over the past 10 years, and also restoring our neighborhood police programs. These are all part of the City Council's 5-year priorities, and there's a lot of work to be done. But let me share with you, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight because we have a lot of work to be done. But the 5-year priorities provide a roadmap ladies and gentlemen, a roadmap that's going to ensure that progress is made each year in achieving each of these 25 priorities for our community. Well, where are we going? Is our next item that we have here. Fiscal stability, sustainability. First, I want to highlight our commitment and progress towards Oxnard fiscal sustainability. Thanks to the diligent work of the City Finance Department staff, Oxnard has achieved important financial milestones. This is important financial milestones that include: one, in 2019, the city completed its reform in the City Finance Department. Two, in April 2020, the city received no new material weaknesses in its annual audit for the first time since 2014. And three, in the last 4 years, the City Finance Department has eliminated 64 material weaknesses and cleared over 96% of the audits. 158 different findings from the past 5 years concern its internal controls, financial management, and accounting policies and procedures. So in April of 2021, the city's independent financial auditors made no new audit financial findings for accounting and financial management. It leaves only 6 remaining findings of the 158 that accumulated since 2014. Again, this is a truly impressive turnaround spearheaded by the city's staff. Where are we going? I would like to provide an overview of the City Council's 5-year priorities and emphasize the importance of the guiding Oxnard's progress. Improve quality of life. After years of budget cuts, Measure 8 gives Oxnard the opportunity to restore and improve added programs to our community wants and needs. The 5-year priorities for this category include: 1, restore and enhance youth programs and launch the Oxnard Academy for local youth in South Oxnard. 2, restore and enhance senior programs and build a council-approved senior center. 3, continue to address homelessness in Oxnard. 4, build an aquatic center in South Oxnard. And 5, reopen the Carnegie Art Museum and create a process to study the Oxnard Pact. Our next item is commitment to economic development. Our priorities for this category include: 1, focus on business retention and expansion and new business attraction. 2, train and prepare residents for employment at local businesses through the Oxnard Employee Pipeline in partnership with Oxnard College and the Chamber. 3, provide the Hueneme, Saviors Road, Pleasant Valley, Channel Islands corridor, revitalize that corridor. Renovate the 4th Street between downtown and the Oxnard train station to create a safe connection between the transit center, and downtown. And 5, create a new Zocalo in South Oxnard. The next item is restoring infrastructure and protecting our natural resources. We recognize the importance of infrastructure to both our residents and also the business community. This category, ladies and gentlemen, priorities include: 1, restore the proper street paving program cycle. 2, restore the proper maintenance of parkways and mediums, tree trimming cycle, and clean up our gateways to the city. 3, ensure adequate water supplies, especially right now with this major drought. 4, repair our alleys that need a tremendous amount of work, and also repair the seawalls at the harbor. Restoring and improving public safety is our next item. Public safety, as always, is a high-ranking priority in our community. The City Council committed to restoring and improving public safety by: 1, maintaining the 911 emergency response times. 2, maintain fire protection services. 3, restoring the neighborhood police program. And 4, restore the possibility of increasing the paramedic squads. And 5, create a modern disaster preparedness program to prepare the city for response and recovery from earthquakes, flooding, and other disasters. Public safety priorities also include a modest incremental implementation of security cameras, through data driven by the Oxnard Police Department, and also a modest incremental implementation of a lifeguard program. Major businesses updates on the Amazon Fulfillment Center. This project will provide a significant boost to the local economy and launches the development of 450 acres at the Sakioka Farms Business Park. The new Amazon Fulfillment Center will occupy 75 of those acres. The Amazon project is expected to to be operational by fall 2021, and will bring in approximately 1,500 minimum wage jobs with healthcare benefits to Oxnard. The city is also working in partnership with Amazon to coordinate hiring opportunities for our residents. Starting in mid-July, recruitment will begin in Oxnard for a spectrum of jobs, offering from staff membership to management. Major businesses update. Updates on the Sakioka Farm Business Park. As the Sakioka property is developed, additional businesses have expressed interest in the property. I'm pleased to report that the Arctic Coal, a 575,000 square foot warehouse, is another business that's under construction at the business park and is expected the opening date by spring of 2022. In addition, the city of Oxnard has received an application for the development of 4 additional buildings totaling 778,720 square feet on 4 proposed lots within the Sakioka Farm Business Park. The proposed development will occupy 40 of those acres and builds upon the strong economic development prospects of the business park that we hope will continue. Updates throughout Oxnard, or business throughout Oxnard. Cannabis. Earlier this year, the City Council invited 16 cannabis retailers to move forward in the process for securing a permit in Oxnard. To date, 13 of the retailers have applied for the permit. With the arrival of cannabis operations, the City Council approved 1, allocating cannabis operators donations to fund community benefits programs within the city to support youth and recreation services, as well as funding of approximately $2.8 million over the course of several years in cannabis operators' one-time donations for improvement to a community center in Colonia. 2, this is in addition to local tax revenues that will be generated by cannabis businesses. The other business item that I want to talk about is the Saviors Road, Hueneme, Pleasant Valley, Channel Islands corridor. As previously mentioned, one of the council's 5-year priorities is to revitalize the Saviors Road corridor. So in 2021, the city will commence neighborhood outreach and visioning in order to create site-based residential and economic development. Part of the revitalization effort will include council-approved priorities of building a Zocalo in South Oxnard. Just for information, a Zocalo is a public gathering where the community members can come together, meet, dine, shop, and enjoy entertainment. This is an opportunity to create a thriving public space in South Oxnard. That's just going to be great. But this is, I'm really, really happy to share this particular item, the Channel Islands Harbor. In May, ladies and gentlemen, the City Council and the County Board of Supervisors both unanimously approved a cooperation agreement for major improvements at the Channel Islands Harbor. We finally built a bridge for cooperation. To me, this is a real hands across the Channel Islands Harbor agreement. And together, we can make improvements that's going to benefit the residents of Oxnard and the residents of County of Ventura. This agreement commits the city and the county to work together to address 1, maintenance of public parks in the harbor, 2, replacement and repair of public parking lots, restrooms, streets within the harbor, with city funding repair of specific facilities that directly benefit our residents. The harbor redevelopment and also protecting its public access. The other item that I have, the Oxnard employee pipeline. Despite the pandemic, we were able to launch the employee pipeline in 2020. Through a strong partnership with the city, the Oxnard Chamber, the Oxnard College, we were able to provide the needed training and education for Oxnard residents to work at Oxnard businesses. We currently have an inaugural class of residents enrolled in classes at Oxnard College and will offer more class opportunities through Oxnard College starting August the 23rd. Housing. I'm also happy to report that more residential housing is coming to Oxnard. There is currently 886 residential units under construction and another 2,192 residential units in the permitting stages. And we expect that to be under construction in the next couple of years. This is really an important opportunity to provide more housing. It'll help address the need for more residential properties. It'll also help stimulate our economy and development in Oxnard. Another item that I'd like to share with you is Naval Base Ventura County. Naval Base Ventura County continues to be a large impact on the Oxnard local economy and community. It's one of the largest employers in the county. Naval Base Ventura County supports 12,000 employees. Nearly 40% of those people live in Oxnard. The Air National Guard employs another 1,000 personnel. But let me share with you that I have been a member of RDP 21, which is called the Regional Defense Plan for the 21st Century, which includes elected officials from the County Board of Supervisors, council members from cities, mayors, and community members. And we have made annual trips to Washington, D.C. I've been traveling to D.C. for the last 20 plus years to lobby our federal policymakers to promote Naval Base Ventura County as a regional contributor to our local economy of over $2 billion payroll, and also as an important asset for the naval defense of the part of the Pacific area of the United States of America. Again, in closing, ladies and gentlemen, this is an exciting time for the city of Oxnard. While many cities have been severely impacted by COVID-19, the trust the voters have placed in the city by passing Measure E allow us the opportunity to restore, to improve, to add much needed programs and services to our residents of Oxnard. We're looking forward for the first year of our restoration budget and creating positive changes throughout the city. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present these items and updates to the Oxnard community, and now open the meeting for questions and comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Zaragoza, for your presentation. I'm Katie Casey, and I'm the Communications Manager for the City of Oxnard, and I will assist in coordinating the question and answer session for the State of the City address. If you have any questions for the Mayor, please go ahead and drop them into the Q&A section of the webinar dashboard. We will take as many questions as we can today, time permitting, and we will also submit answers to any unanswered questions to the Chamber for distribution to all event attendees. I have a few questions that I have already received, and we'll start with question number 1. When will we start to see the restorations funded by Measure E throughout the city?
Katie, thank you. Thank you. I just want to share, first of all, that the city receives its first sales tax allocation from the state in the last week of June. So will the voters approve Measure E in last November, as I mentioned before? The first payment will, of course, will not be received within the next 7 months. But it's important to remember when people ask, when are we going to see the improvements from Measure E? First, I'd like to share with you that we first we have to receive funds in order to start giving back to the community. We also have to remember that this is the first positive budget that the city has seen in a decade. Well, it's exciting to be realistic about that. The timing, I think, is really important to restore the services to the city. Oxnard went through many, many years of cutting services and programs, and restoring them will take time. As the city manager explained in his recent budget hearing, this year is the first year of restoring budgets. However, some significant changes, Katie, are happening, which is going to improve our infrastructure and natural resources throughout the city. We're investing $14.6 million a year for the next 3 years for improving our streets and our alleys. And 2/3 of the costs are going to be bonded. Additionally, just to share with you, $5.6 million for parks, mediums, street maintenance for the fiscal year 2021 alone. This includes cleaning up our gateways, our city, our parks, and this is really important for our businesses and the community members, and also for our children and our families to enjoy. This year's budget also includes $8.8 million for fiscal year 2021 to support projects which are capital items, CIP items, which includes street improvements. Again, I emphasize that this is a first 3-year restorative budget, and the changes won't happen overnight. But you'll see some significant improvements to landscape improvement and mediums as soon as starting here in July 1. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Question number 2. How will the city spend the $59.5 million in funding from the American Rescue Plan?
Well, that's another good question. You know, our city manager just received some outline from the Treasury Department, and there's several categories that we need to follow from the American Rescue Plan, how we can spend the money. So we just can't spend the money in whatever we want. So the money includes supporting public health responses, replacing public sector lost revenues, investing in water and sewer infrastructures, also addressing negative economic impacts to our city, and providing premium pay for essential workers, and invested in broadband infrastructure for unserved and underserved communities. And those are the outlines of how we can spend the money. Well, again, this category, you got to keep in mind that staff will have, this is going to be a one-time spending item allocation. So we got to remember we cannot continue using this money. So I encourage members of the community to participate in the city council meetings and learn more about the proposed programs and services that the city can consider funding under the American Rescue Plan. And this, again, this item is going to be returning to the city council in September after the U.S. Treasury finalizes the money allocation in the spending category. So we don't want to spend any money ahead of time and until we know exactly how much money we're going to have. And at that time, then the city council is going to make decisions regarding how to distribute the American Rescue Plan. I have received questions, and I know the council has received questions on the 2.5 allocation plan towards the monies that we gave out in the city gratitude program that grants full-time and part-time essential grocery workers and retailers a one-time $1,000 payout. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that too. As the mayor, I recognize that there are many, many frontline workers throughout throughout the pandemic. There's doctors, nurses, hospital workers, farm workers, and all city staff and employee workers, police officers, firefighters, paramedics. And I want to thank every single one of them throughout the past year. However, our grocery and drugstore workers were absolutely essential to all of us. When we went to the grocery stores, when we went to the drugstores, we want them to be there every single night to take care of our household needs throughout the pandemic. And they truly, truly, I believe, were frontline workers like everybody else that I mentioned, and that they were utilized by the community members throughout this past year. So we were grateful to recognize those individuals and other individuals for their service. And thank you for that again.
Okay. Question number 3. What is the city doing to address homelessness?
Another good question. You know, as you know, the city has made a tremendous progress in addressing homelessness throughout a variety of support programs and public safety programs. But before I continue, let me share that Oxnard is not unique to homelessness. The county has homelessness. The state of California has homelessness. Homelessness is throughout the United States. But the Oxnard Police Department has a complement of homeless liaison officers, especially that are assigned to work on streets and focus homelessness issues within the community. The Oxnard PD has partnered with a number of social services from the county to provide and help develop connections with people experiencing homelessness, while working with the department's neighborhood police teams to frequent the city parks and also address some of the public safety concerns. Last year, for example, the department identified 4,250 calls for services, related to homelessness. In my understanding from our chief that the homeless liaison officers handled 2,500 of those calls. The city housing department has also made, Katie, a tremendous progress getting people off the streets and into housing. In my understanding is from my housing director that our city staff placed 79 persons experiencing homelessness into permanent housing supporting housing. In addition, running a 24-hour shelter operation, now we're funding various support services throughout Oxnard. Construction of a new homeless solution center at 2nd and B Street in downtown Oxnard is anticipated to begin here in 2022. And that's going to be after full funding is secured, of course. And the 5-story building that we all heard about is a comprehensive solution that's going to address homelessness. In the first floor, there's going to be 110-bed emergency shelter. The second floor is going to contain services and offices. And the top 3 floors are going to be provided with 64 units for residential permanent supportive housing. This project is made possible again, as we heard through the papers at City Council, between the City of Oxnard, the County of Ventura, the Community Development Partners. Community Development Partners are securing $34 million to construct the facility with no general fund money. That's really important. No general fund money is required to develop the facility. However, the city will provide $1.5 million of the shelter for the build-out costs and also pay a $1.5 million operating annually costs as part of the shared operations of this cost. And just to share with you, as you know, over at the Armory, right now the city is paying over $2.5 million to operate the Armory. So that's going to reduce it down to about $1.5 million. Thank you for that question.
Our next question covers the topic of public safety. Do you have any additional details regarding restoring the Oxnard Police Department's neighborhood policing program and other public safety updates that are included in this year's budget?
Yeah, that's another good question, because in the priorities in the survey that we got, one of the top items that the public wanted is maintaining public safety. And to me, that's really, really important, to share with the community. And as I mentioned before, restoring the neighborhood police program is one of the council's top priorities, along with maintaining 911 response times. That is extremely important. And additionally, restoring the paramedic squads that were cut out in the last year's budgets. In this coming fiscal year, the police department will focus on retaining 911, which is really, really important to all of us, response time, and to take steps to begin the restoration of the neighborhood policing team. The first step in this is to address a number of vacant positions, of course, within the police department. Our police department is undertaking efforts right now, not just to fill positions, but also placing emphasis on hiring local talent. This is really important, that we hire individuals from Oxnard, people that care about Oxnard, that they have stake in Oxnard, they have families and friends that live in Oxnard. That is extremely important. And again, additional testing and recruiting periods this year for the entry level is going to continue. The Oxnard Police Department also is going to be receiving $590,000 in the incoming general budget for equipment that includes automatic license plate readers. That's really important. That machine's got to be able to read a license plate and give us an information whose automobile that belongs to. And also for additional cameras and radio communication and console maintenance. And I'm happy to report that in the 2020 crime, for the 2020 crime report, that is a status quo. This is a really, really good year where we really remain status. But I'd like to share that from this year to last year, crime has been down 23% as of today, 23%, which is really important to all of us. So I just want to commend our police department for that.
The next question covers cannabis. You mentioned that cannabis retailers are moving forward with the permit process. When will people be able to purchase cannabis in Oxnard?
Well, as you know, just to remind the public, the California voted cannabis, to be part of the process to legalize cannabis. And I just like to share with you that that it's really important to share with you, as I mentioned before, that right now we have 13 of the 16 cannabis retailers applied for their permits. And at this point, we anticipate the operational cannabis retailers is probably going to start by the end of the fiscal year 21-22. And of course, the city of Hueneme has been very successful with cannabis retail. And my understanding that also the city of Ventura and Thousand Oaks are looking forward to the retail of cannabis.
In your presentation, you mentioned the importance of the relationship between the City Council and management. Would you like to expand on this further?
Yes, I truly believe, as I mentioned before, that we have a good city council. And we also have a good management team. And that is a combination for success. And we have both in Oxnard. And I'd like to share a little bit more. When I was in the Board of Supervisors, I was the chairman of the board twice in my 12 years that I was there with the Board of Supervisors. And one of my responsibilities as chair was to make a presentation to S&P, Standard & Poor's, in order to get a credit rating. And I remember at the time that I made a presentation to the Standard & Poor's individuals about the policymakers. Our CEO made a presentation on operations, and our CFO made a presentation on the budget. After making the presentation, I had the opportunity to fly to New York for that, and also 1 year back and forth, 1 day back and forth, and also to San Francisco. So once we finish the presentation, I'd like to share with you that the Standard & Poor's individuals mentioned to me, Mr. Supervisor, Mr. Chair, your credit rating, half of that was the interaction that you had between the policymakers and also the operational managers. So then that's why I believe so important that we here in the City Council have this good relationship with the City Council, with our staff, and that to me is extremely important. I just want to share that relationship is extremely important, and we have it here in Oxnard. Thank you for that.
Thank you. The next question is regarding the 5-year priorities. In the City Council priorities, you mentioned a focus on business retention and expansion. What does this include?
Thank you for that question. I think it's really important, and we're speaking today to our business people. Small businesses and businesses are probably 60-70% of our economy, and to me, that's really important to retain and expand our businesses here. One of the biggest components that I believe that we have is the expansion of the Oxnard employee pipeline. Through the partnership, as I mentioned before, with the Chamber and the college, many businesses express the need for additional training and resources to recruit residents for local jobs. And local jobs would also put our employees here, our residents here to work. Together with the Chamber and the City of Oxnard and college staff, we have created a program that provides residents with the skills they need to get jobs for local businesses. Oxnard College offers a series of 3 classes that provide residents with communication skills, business skills they need to enter the local workforce. Once the students earn a certificate, they are then guaranteed an interview with local employers, which is really important. The city then will assist with resumes, with interview preparations, and help the employee pipeline students set up for interviews with local employees. A lot of our students, a lot of people have a hard time with interviews, but this is really important that we help them out. As the program grows, the Oxnard employee pipeline will help bring generations of well-qualified students to the workforce, to our local businesses. And that, believe it or not, will help us bring in more businesses to Oxnard. Another part of focusing on business retention and expansion is to continue to improve the one-stop shop permit process. This includes streamlining and expediting permit reviews and relaunching our small business assistance program and expanding online permitting. And we now have some really good people working with the permitting process program. And I personally have seen a lot of good results on that. In the upcoming fiscal year budget, our Community Development Department looks to restoring staff leveling to be able to quickly and efficiently meet the needs of our local businesses. And again, I can attest to that in my first few months here as mayor of the city of Oxnard.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to remind everyone that you can drop in questions into the question section of the chat on the dashboard. I'm just looking to see if any new ones have been submitted. Mayor, while we wait to see if anyone else has any further questions, I know you shared some of your experiences being a member of the RDP 21. And you made mention of that economic impact on our local economy. Do you want to speak a little bit more to that while we see if there are any other questions?
Yes, and thank you so much. Again, I was chair of the vice chair or co-chair of RDP 21. And every year, as I mentioned before, members of the city council, members of the board of supervisors, and also some individuals, retired individuals that work at Naval Base Ventura County, made the trek to Washington, D.C. We went to the Pentagon. We went to see our policymakers, to share with them about what we're doing in Oxnard. And one of the beauties of was every time that we went to our local representatives, policymakers, they said, here's Oxnard, here's Ventura County. And we really, really believed, and I still believe, that we got a lot of information and a lot of support. So here and also we now have numerous agencies moved to Naval Base Ventura County to Point Magoo that's really helped our economy. And again, as I mentioned before, this is really, really important because 40% of those workers live here in Oxnard, and of course in Cambrio and Ventura and surrounding communities. But I believe that we need to support Naval Base Ventura County as well as other businesses in the retention of and expansion and continued support of Naval Base Ventura County is extremely important to all of us. And also I'd like to share with you, and we all know most of the individuals that they were stationed here, from captains to other service individuals, once they retire, they want to come back to Oxnard or Ventura County and live in the surrounding communities. So I'm very, very happy to be part of the RDP 21. And by the way, Mayor Pro Tem McDonald has also traveled with me to Washington, D.C. too. So thank you for asking that question.
Thank you. I am not seeing any other questions coming through in the chat. Mayor, do you have any final comments for our attendees of today's State of the City address?
Yes, as I mentioned before, I want to thank Nancy, the Chamber of Commerce members. I want to thank all the sponsors, and I want to thank all the individuals that are listening today, and especially our residents, and especially our workers, our city employees, and our city manager and staff, and our financial individuals, and our city council that has really worked very diligently on this budget. And as I mentioned before, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first positive budget we've had in over 10 years. And so I want to thank you again for all the work. And as mayor, I'm extremely, extremely, extremely happy about our good budget that we have this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the State of the City Address 2021. I'm happy to jump back in here. I know that there were a few other questions that are posted. I'm not sure if Katie could see those, but as she did state, She will be getting back to you on all of those that were posted. Just a couple of quick chamber announcements. We have, of course, after joining forces with the Camarillo Chamber of Commerce, we have a lot of programs and events that are coming up. So please check the calendar on our website for those items. You can get to the website either through oxnardchamber.org or camarillo-chamber.org. One of note that we do have coming up on August 12th, we will be hosting the Oxnard Community and Business Awards. Nominations are open for that right now. All of those awardees are nominated by people from the public. So we would love to have your participation. It's a great way to honor your customers, your suppliers, or your associates, even your neighbors. The categories we have are Distinguished Citizen of the Year, Large Business, Small Business, the Best Place to Work, Nonprofits, Innovative Business of the Year, Young Professional, Volunteer of the Year, and Business Advocate of the Year. So put your thinking cap on and figure out who you would love to honor with one of those nominations. Again, I want to thank Mayor Zaragoza very much for the update. There is a lot happening in the city, and most of it's positive, so that is great news. So thank you again for joining us, everyone, and have a great rest of your workday.
Thank you.
Thank you.